Hello there, YouTubers! Today we're going to make a video that some of you are probably going to be greatly interested in. We're going to take a look at every single piece of audio, video, computer, whatever equipment that I have here in my workshop area in the other house. I'm gonna make some comments to every device that we're going to look at, and I know we're probably going to forget to look at some stuff, but I'm going to try, as I said, to really look at everything. I got 2.5 hours worth of recording time on this camcorder. I even got 9.5 hours of battery life, so I guess we should be able to make it. This is indeed going to be a very, very long video because I will be making some comments to every device that we're going to look at. I'm going to tell you in what kind of condition it's in right now, if it's going to need some repairs, if it's fully functional, maybe a little bit of a story behind of certain things, and most importantly, what's probably going to happen with them. Because the fact is, for reasons that I can just not explain because it would then really take 2.5 hours. I will be getting rid of the collection. So whatever you see is going to have to fit into a plan that I have at this point. And the plan is that I do want to keep a minimum amount of stuff, because I know if I get rid of just everything, I'm going to regret it at a later point. So the plan that I came up with during the past weeks, and I think it really does make sense, is I'm going to keep equipment that I need in order to be able to work with obsolete media. So, for instance, if I want to transfer a VHS cassette, I still want to be able to do it. So, in order to do so, I'm going to keep a VHS video recorder. And I am in fact going to tell you in, well, probably quite a long time which one that's going to be, but you are going to see it. Same goes for cassettes. I want to keep a cassette deck to play back cassettes if I want to digitize them. I also want to be able to play back high-com encoded cassettes, this oddball noise reduction format from the early 1980s. So I will, of course, be keeping also a high-com cassette deck. And so it basically continues. I guess you get the point. I want to be able to transfer all sorts of media, and in order to do so, I will have to keep a minimum amount of equipment. Everything else is going to go, and it may be going on to eBay. It may be going into the trash. Now, just to make this clear, I really don't have anything against you guys wanting to have the stuff that I want to throw away. The simple problem is, for reasons of time, for reasons of cost, for reasons of just the kind of trouble that just tends to go along with it. I'm just not able to send stuff around the planet from here into the United States or whatever. However, if you happen to live in the Hanover area and it wouldn't be a problem for you to come over into this place, I will be happy to give stuff that I intend to throw away to you. To make this short and sweet, I will not be sending anything anywhere. No shipping whatsoever. Even if you would be willing to pay for it. Nope. But if you're able to do local pickup, feel free to send me a message and we can come up with a deal, and you're probably going to be leaving this place with a lot more stuff than you would have ever expected. So, okay, that's the little introduction that I wanted to make. So let's get this tour started, and I see we've already wasted 6 minutes. Oh god, this video is going to be so long. I'm gonna hate editing this, but it will be going up even if it's 2.5 hours long. So let's get started. Well, we are now in the green room with a green screen where we've started the introduction. So you can see I have cleared most stuff out of here. There is some stuff left in here, and no, I have not tidied up anything, because if I was going to do that, then this would probably be a week-long project. Anyway, let's start around here. And, well, right there we have a Kenwood KR4050 receiver. I got this quite a couple of years ago, and we have made several videos about it. And we've also replaced a couple of transistors in there because they were noisy. So at this point this is actually fully functional. I'm not going to keep it because obviously you can't transfer any media with this. There is that, and that's probably going to go up onto eBay at some point because I think it's worth it. Then we have a record player. This is a Hitachi. It's a direct drive. Unfortunately, it's not an automatic unit. So it does lack features that I would like to have. Also, it's kind of big for what it is. I mean, you know, they could have made it a bit smaller. Well, there is that. It's missing some components inside. We removed them because they were just blown up, those old Rifa brand capacitors. So I'm not even sure if this is safe to use as a permanent kind of thing. So that's not going to stay. That's going to go. Here we have the Dynatron speakers, and these do sound pretty damn good for what they are, so I'd like to keep them. Not sure if I will, though. Now there we have the TEAC. What is a model number? A2300SX. Reel-to-reel tape recorder, and I do have a whole video series of repairing this on my channel. And at this point it does pretty much work. The only thing is, seems like I didn't clean the pinch roller mechanism good enough, because the pinch roller does stick, and you have to kind of move it about the first time you use it, the first time you go and press play. Once you've done that, it's gonna work, but that's a little bit of an annoyance. I put on the TEAC smoke, well, it's not glass, it's plastic, cover that I have from this quad machine over there. Let me continue with this, because otherwise I may forget it. Nothing in that shelf aside from a bunch of cables. In there is the world's slimmest LG cheap-ass video recorder. This is my parents', so that's gonna stay because it's not mine. Up above we have a Panasonic DVD recorder. This is gonna stay because it might come in handy for playing back DVDs, you know, with copyright encoded things going on them so that you can't play them in a computer. I'm going to be keeping that. I don't think I'll ever use this to actually record DVDs, because I don't think that's a very reliable format. So right now I'm actually in the process of getting rid of all my home recorded DVDs. I'm just going to put everything on hard disk drives and back it up and all that, and it's going to be much better than having those DVDs lying around. Up above we have another keeper. This is a JVC video corrector that I got off of eBay for a relatively acceptable price. And this thing, now the only unfortunate thing, it does not have super video. It's only composite video, so it does limit the quality a little bit. But for old VHS cassettes, this enhancer feature that it has is excellent. I tried it and I got some really good results out of that, so that's why I'm keeping this. And that's on top is the remote control to go along with the Panasonic DVD recorder. Okay, we've already seen this. This is the TEAC A2340R. This is a quadraphonic reel-to-reel. It's also an auto-reverse reel-to-reel, however, that doesn't work. For some reason, when you go into reverse, it'll change the direction of the tape, but it will not change the tracks that are playing. So you just get your first side of audio in reverse. So there was something going on with this, and I did start taking it apart, as you can see. Haven't done any cleaning in there. I guess you can also see that. And of course it also has the problem with the sticking pinch roller. So I'll be taking care of that. Not sure if I'll be taking care of the auto-reverse problem, because for transferring old media you don't really need to have it go in automatic reverse. It's kind of unnecessary. But basically either this one or that one is going to be a keeper to be able to transfer old tapes. And I actually do still have quite a few tapes. We're going to probably see them in a few minutes. In this box right here we have some camcorders. As you can see, this contains basically everything. Oh, I was looking for that box right there. That's nice. Well, this contains all the VHS-C stuff that I have, which includes this Bauer VHS-C camcorder. Still works, but obviously not really useful for anything, so that's gonna go. And then over here we have this. This is a Sony CCD V8 AF. It's a version with the autofocus, which requires this lens up there, this additional lens. This is a Video 8, and unfortunately I don't have a High 8 video camera anymore. So this, when it comes to Video 8, this at the moment is the only thing I have, and unfortunately it's not going to be of much use for playback because somewhere right there, multi connector, yep. That's not a recent Sony invention. You can see even on this one, instead of giving you some standard inputs and outputs, you just get this thing right there, and I guess you would have gotten some adapter cables along with it, but I don't have any of those, so at the moment this thing right here is pretty much useless as well, because I can't get any video signals out of it. But, you know, it is, unfortunately it's not in perfect condition. The viewfinder has kind of fallen apart. There is a piece missing from that. So, you know, it's just as much of a collectible as the JVC GRC1E, but, you know, it's not complete, so, I don't know. There we have a pair of ISO 19-inch monitors. They're nothing special at this point. They're just your usual VGA and DVI early 2000s monitors. I had them for my computer for a while before I got my huge, great big 27-inch 2K monitor. It's one of these super high resolution things. It's not 4K, but it is pretty damn good. So these are just sitting around. Not sure what I'm going to do with them. In the red carrying case, I'm not going to take it out because I'm too lazy right now and it would take up even more time. We have the JVC GRC1E. The last time I tried it, it did still work, so I think it still works at this point as well. At least there is no reason why it should be broken now. So there is that, and it is quite a cool piece of vintage equipment, and I don't know. I guess I'm gonna keep it, although they do go for quite a bit of money on eBay at this point. I don't know. At this point I really don't know. Of course, for any sort of transferring, this is gonna be, well, whatever you can do with that, you can do a million times better with a proper standalone VCR and an adapter cassette from VHS-C to standard VHS, which I do have. So from that perspective, there's not really a point in keeping this. Both in that black and silver carrying case and over there we have Panasonic MS1 Super VHS camcorders. Yes, I do have two of them. The one that you can see that's outside of the case, the motor zoom is broken, so I'm probably not going to keep it. But if I should keep the JVC, the vintage JVC, for reasons of fairness, I'm also going to keep the fully functional MS1, because I do think these are great cameras. Below that, and in this carrying case, we have a Canon Legria HFG 30. It's an absolutely excellent, wonderful, brilliant camcorder. However, I don't use it as often as I'd like to, so it does not really, justify the €900 that I put into this. So that's going to go up onto eBay at some point. Down there on the floor we have something that I'm not going to keep. This is the Sony, I don't even remember the model number, I think down there it says TC355, I think that is. Reel-to-reel tape deck with the messed up faceplate. Not gonna keep it. I already put some work into this, which, oh well. Of course now it's just a waste of time, but oh well. It's not a very good thing. It doesn't have 3 motors. It doesn't... Actually, I'm not sure. Does it have 3 heads? Yeah, it does. There are the monitor switches, but it's not a 3-motor unit, and the TX are just going to be a million times better. So this is going to go. Here we have something that was already supposed to be long gone. This is the Panasonic MX50 video mixer. 4 sources, 4 input sources, lots and lots of features and functions on this, digital effects and tons of transitions. This thing can really do a whole lot. This was of course supposed to be the heart of my studio that I was going to build in here. Well, of course, now that I've moved, there was no point in having a studio over here, so this thing is going to be sold, and I already had it up on eBay 3 times. Stupid eBay users. The first time I tried selling it, a guy from Azerbaijan won the auction and expected me to send it to Azerbaijan, even though I clearly stated that shipping was only going to be limited to Germany. So no international shipping. Clear statement. For some reason he didn't get it, so that auction failed. The second and third auction both failed because the eBay users didn't pay in time. So it's still here. I hope I'm going to be able to sell this at some point. Over here, well, there we have the old Olympia typewriter, which is probably a keeper, just because it is a nice typewriter and it does actually work. And there we have a Sony Trinitron TV that's probably going to go. Of course, in the age of flat screen TVs, there's not much of a point in keeping this stuff. Or I'm going to set it up in this workshop again as a workshop TV. Actually, I should probably do that. Oh well. And we're now in the huge, great big mess that is the workshop area. So I guess we'll be spending the next hour in here looking at stuff. Without any further ado, let's get started. I'm just going to start over here. And we're going to look at this corner. Let me get in there. In this shelf right here, we have a whole bunch of computer equipment. We have another white ISO monitor. It's slightly smaller than the 19-inch versions, and it does unfortunately have a scratched panel, so that's not a keeper. This computer case, this Fujitsu Siemens case, I'm just keeping because it is the exact same case as my main computer, my main PC. And in case anything of that case ever breaks, this one is going to deliver replacement components. Over there we have the all the way in the corner, we have the computer that we built not too long ago. It's actually a fairly high-spec computer, so that is a keeper, obviously. You can't really sell this kind of Frankenstein stuff on eBay, so not going to do that either. And that right there in the middle is just the empty case of the old HP computer that part of that computer's components came out of. Not sure what's up in here. Nothing. Memories. Yeah, I was a child too. Anyways, here we have an external CD-ROM drive, an external hard disk drive, and all sorts of bits and pieces. I've already thrown away a lot of stuff, and I should probably go through these power supplies and throw out the crappy ones. I don't really care for all this computer stuff. None of this is really collectible. Over here in this messy and kind of fallen apart shelf or cupboard, we have what remains of my reel-to-reel tape collection. It's just kind of buried behind a bunch of junk. There it is, some more drives. Up on top, these are definitely not going to stay. These are some homemade speakers, totally without any sort of plan or anything. These were just for fun projects. Those are not going to stay. Same goes for that electronic typewriter over there. I think electronic typewriters are boring. So that's not going to stay. However, it is my mother's, so I will have to ask if I can throw it out. In this case is a super old notebook computer. This used to be my father's. This is definitely a collectible item. That's going to stay. Also because it's not mine. It is still my father's. There we have replacement parts. More replacement parts, more replacement parts. More replacement parts. That laboratory power supply unfortunately blew up. Something going wrong with the control circuitry, unfortunately. What happened was I hooked up a battery to charge it. The thing is, I had the power supply turned off, and a lot of these power supplies just really don't like when the output voltage is higher than the input voltage, and that was definitely the case. I had the 12-volt battery hooked up to the power supply that was turned off, so the input voltage was 0. So that thing doesn't work anymore, which is very unfortunate. I haven't really been able to fix it because it's just a very messy and complex circuit in there. Right there, buried under a bunch of junk, is a Thorens TD-166 record player. This is going to go into the trash, most definitely, because the chassis is all scratched up. This of course, was just a parts unit to fix up my TD-166J. Over here we have the case of that boombox right there. Haven't made a video about this yet, however I have started working on one. So that may or may not come up at some point. And there we have an oscilloscope. This is a one that was made in the Soviet Union. Kind of a small and cute one. It's going to need some new capacitors in there, because at the moment not only does it display the input signal, it also at all times displays a 50 Hertz hum. So that's not too good. Not sure if I'm even going to keep it. I may just put it up on eBay as it is. Here we have my wonderful transmission line speakers. These are just too big for my little studio apartment, so I couldn't take them with me. They're too loud, too much bass, and I'm not that kind of an asshole that entertains the whole neighborhood with his music. So they are over here, and well, they are waiting for things to happen. Of course, they are way too big to be sold. These are pretty much impossible to transport. So, well, they are there, and they're probably going to stay until I have a bigger place. There we have the Toshiba PT884 reel-to-reel tape recorder. This is going to go. I'm not going to keep it. I'm probably going to put it up on eBay. Of course, it is unfortunately missing the nameplate up on the front. It's another quad machine, another 3-head machine, but once again, only one single motor, which isn't too good. Or actually, hold on a second. This is the only hi-fi reel-to-reel that I have that'll do 4.8 centimeters a second, or 1.78 inches per second. So I may actually still need that. Well, we'll have to see. Under there we have my Thorens TD166J record player, high-end record player with high-end cartridge. Got the a good Shure mounted on there. And this is still sitting here because I was kind of scared to move it to Hanover, so I'll have to do that at some point, but this is definitely a keeper. Unlike that stuff down there, I'm not sure. The Sansui equipment, it's just way over the top. You know, the power amplifier does 300 watts peak per channel, and I just don't have no use for it. Even if I was going to use these speakers again, wouldn't be any point. These speakers won't do any more than 50 watts peak. Otherwise, they are going to pop. So, not sure what I'm going to do with this stuff. Of course, it's worth quite a bit of money, so I may or may not go for that. Right there we have a keeper. This is for transferring cassettes, obviously. The Akai GX75. Should still work. I haven't tried it in a while. Down below is a Technics tuner. It's quite a good one, but, well, I don't know. We'll see. And down there we have another keeper, just because it's such a cool device. Let me see if I can get a better picture of that. Here we go, much better. That's, of course, the Technics SL... what is that? SLP 770, I believe, CD player. Quite a cool device. In this shelf right here up front, we have, well, we got this plastic bag. There is a busted Digital 8 camcorder sitting in there that I wanted to make a teardown video of. Not sure when I'm going to have the time to do so. In that box right there resides my father's Mission Cyrus stereo system. He got a new one that's a bit more comfortable to use, has remote control and all that jazz. So this is just sitting here. It still is my father's, so can't do anything with it. Otherwise, I'd probably go and use it. Here we have the parts unit of the Sansui set. This is the preamplifier. It should basically be functional. I do have all the parts for it. It just doesn't look that good cosmetically. So that's going to be sold once I've gotten around to fixing this up a little bit. This is the remains of the ultrasound cassette deck. Haven't done anything with that yet. Under that we have the Privileg cassette recorder, which I'm not going to keep. You know, it's like, you know, it is a piece of vintage equipment, so it's like, you know, you can't just throw it into the trash, but it's not worth anything, and technically it's just a total piece of garbage. It's like, you know, you adjust the heads and 10 minutes later they're out of alignment again. Just that kind of old, cheap Japanese junk. In this bag right here we have another keeper. This is video equipment, as you can probably tell. This is my Canon XM2, which I'm of course going to need not only for playing back mini-DV cassettes. It's also has a analog video to FireWire streaming function, so this is going to make a very good device for digitizing analog video. Much higher quality than all those USB capturing things that you can get, these cheap ones. So that's a keeper. There's the remote for the Technics CD player. So we look over here, this one is going to go because, well, for one thing, I've already torn it apart, partially. And then the mechanism is just totally worn out. No chance you're going to repair that. There are plastic parts that are just worn out. So the Sancor cassette deck is going to go. As you can see, I have taken out the fluorescent display and I tried to make it work out of this unit, but no success so far. I can get it to light up and everything, and you know, I have everything hooked up correctly according to the data sheet of these chips, but still, for some reason, all the segments in this display light up at once. And you know, the ones that are supposed to light up because the input signal has the you know, the appropriate strength, will just light up a bit brighter. So there's something going on with this, I don't know, kind of weird. So that's that. Right there we have the case of a Sony cassette deck that I took apart. That's already gone. In the shelf we have, well, we have all my speakers. I'm not going to keep all of those, so I guess we're going to pop a few more at some point. More parts. And here we have a very interesting unit. This is actually something that I would like to keep. The problem is, well, I'm going to tell you, I found this at the dump, and you know, this is a high-end Zaba receiver. This is how German-made high-end equipment looked like in the mid-1970s, early to mid-1970s. Looks kind of weird, as you can probably see. And it does have digital frequency readout right there. All sorts of fancy stuff. It's an insanely overcomplicated design. And that's part of the problem. But the real problem is, back then the German industry was already really quite a bit under pressure from coming from the Japanese industry that was slowly but surely getting into the German market. So they had to build this thing cheap. They didn't want to cut any costs at the engineering or at the features and functions or technical specifications. And as a matter of fact, this thing, it was in a test versus a bunch of Japanese high-end equipment, including equipment from Pioneer and Sansui and all those great names, and this ugly-looking thing won. So this is really a great receiver. It's supposed to have an absolutely amazing quality tuner in there. So you are asking, so where did they do the cost cutting? Well, they did it at the quality of the components. And at this point, you can actually you can pull this thing totally apart, and you can go and replace most of the capacitors, you can replace most of the diodes, you can replace all the rectifier bridges, and there are quite possibly quite a few more components in there that don't work no more. And so that's going to be quite a huge project. At this point it pretty much does work. Oh, and of course another problem is bad solder joints all over the place. Whenever I got it, the tuner wasn't working, but resoldering the power supply actually did fix it. So the unit does basically work, but it's not safe to run, because if one of these rectifier bridges in there decides to die, it's going to blow up your filter capacitors or something like that. So, you know, or the filter capacitor shorts out and blows up the power supply. All this kind of stuff can happen until you go ahead and take those crappy, low-quality components out of there that they've used. But this is kind of an odd thing. This is kind of a cool thing, so I'd like to keep it. It's going to be a lot of work to bring it back into a condition in which it can safely be used, unfortunately. Down below we have, this is something that I bought at a flea market for €5 only because it was cheap. This is a tube type radio. Not going to keep it. I'm going to take the tubes out of there and maybe some other replacement parts, and then I'm just going to throw it out because, as you can see, condition-wise, it's pretty bad. Those buttons are broken. Someone dumped a cigarette on there, so that's all molten. Nope, don't want to keep this thing because it's too far gone. On top of this speaker, we have this, the Audiosonic amplifier, and I'm really only keeping this for the looks of it. Technically, it's a total piece of junk, far away from any sort of hi-fi standard. And I tried selling this one on eBay, but once again, some asshole eBay user did not want to pay, so the auction failed. And then up on top we have these two-way ITT speakers. Those don't even sound all too bad, but those other ones over there, which have about the same size, sound better. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with these ITT ones. Let's continue over here. Here we have the huge, great big Bang & Olufsen speakers. Unfortunately, for some reason, these don't sound good anymore. I don't know why, but something about these things, the last couple of times that I've used them, I was just like, oh my god, these things sound terrible. And I have actually taken them all apart, and I have measured the capacitors in the crossover, so I thought those might be bad, because of course these speakers are from 1968, insanely old. For that reason I'm going to keep them. Once again, they are too big and too heavy, way too heavy to be shipped anywhere, so can't sell them, but they're too old to just carelessly be thrown out. But unfortunately, they just don't sound very good. I'll have to do some further testing though. Maybe I can make them sound good again, who knows. A bunch of replacement components up in there. These are my father's old speakers. These are Spender LS35A monitor speakers, built under license from the British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC. These are BBC monitor speakers, and I tell you, these sound excellent. Well, once again, they are still my father's. He still wants them, so I can't do anything with them. They are just sitting around here, and, well, hopefully they are not going bad. Here we have the Zaba tube-type radio. That actually does work, and I do actually have a half-finished video on my computer. I'll have to look at that and finish that at some point. There it is. Not useful for transferring media, so I don't know if I'm going to keep it. It's kind of cool, just like that thing over there, but it's just not exactly useful, unfortunately. Down below that we have a Sony surround sound receiver. Lots and lots of gimmicks on there. Some solder joints will have to be redone in there, but other than that it does work. I do have a set of surround sound speakers up there made by Sharp. Rather cheap plasticky things, but it's all there, so in case I ever want to have a home theater, I can have it. There we have a Fisher CRWZ1 cassette deck, dual cassette deck. It's kind of a, well, it's not really a cheap one, but it's kind of flimsy. This is, however, a keeper because this is my only cassette deck that has DBX noise reduction. So if I want to play DBX encoded cassettes using this thing, I can do it. I can do it properly. Now we have a piece of history. This is one of the first radios that I built. This dates back to, well, some point around 2003. One of the first things that I built, and still works. There's the inside. Insanely complicated coil that I wound. Adjustable coil, as you can see. That was quite a project back then. That's definitely a keeper. Here we have some homemade speakers. These are actually built to some proper plans and they do actually sound relatively good, but as you can probably imagine, nowhere near as good as these. So, not sure what I'm going to do with them. They also don't look very attractive, so they might just go into the trash. And let's come to the biggest chunk of stuff that's still left in this shelf right here. Up there, now this is just a box to that USB record player that I have. I actually do have that thing over in Hanover, and I might be using it to digitize some vinyl at some point. In the shelf we have the remains of the Sancor stereo system. Not sure what I'm going to do with it. The amplifier, of course, is kind of nice and small and convenient. The tuner does have some contact problems in the switches, and since the switches are all sealed, there's not a whole lot you can do about that, so I don't know. Of course, with the cassette deck gone, it's not a complete system anymore anyway, so, well, probably going to keep the amplifier, not so sure about the tuner. This right there is a really cool piece of equipment. This is the Uher CG330 stereo cassette deck. The belts in that thing are broken and the motor needs to be lubricated, so it doesn't work right now. But this would be definitely the right kind of thing to go along with that Zaba receiver over there. So I'd like to keep it, although there's not really much of a point in doing so. Yeah, you can tell it's, you know, I told you in the beginning I'm only going to keep everything that I can actually use to transfer media, but I guess I will be making some exceptions for cool stuff like this. Over there we have something that you haven't even seen yet. This is a recent dump find that I found together with the Pioneer record player. This is a Pioneer CT606 cassette deck. Kind of a nice one. There we have an equalizer. That's going to be a keeper to, you know, to use as an equalizer in case old recordings don't sound good anymore. Then we have an Iowa cassette deck. That's another one that I'd probably keep as a backup. So of course this is another high-end, fully featured cassette deck, and it does work. There we have the 1968 Sharp receiver, and not sure. This one, the potentiometers are broken. It's they don't work no more, even with contact spray in them. They just don't make proper contact anymore. I think they're just mechanically bent or something. So it doesn't work quite right anymore, this thing. It's probably going to be sold at some point. Likewise, that National Panasonic receiver. Haven't really done anything with that yet either, so it's kind of dirty. Then over here we have another thing that I would like to sell at some point. This is the Onkyo Integra cassette deck. That's not a keeper because it's not a three-headed deck. It just has two heads. Over there we have, this is once again a piece of history. This is my really old Philips cassette recorder. This is like the second model they ever put out. A vintage piece of equipment. So yeah, I may be, you know, I will be throwing away that cheap thing right there, but the Philips unit is going to be a keeper. There we have two Philips CD204 CD players. I'll have to see. The silver one should work. The black one I'm not so sure. The past couple of times I used it, it sometimes skipped on the CD, so I'm not sure. These are great CD players and they are worth a bunch of money, so either I'm going to keep them. Yeah, actually no, you can't transfer CDs. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but they're there, and in case I want to sell them, they're worth a lot of money. Here we have something, this is not going to stay. This is a very basic Pioneer CT F4040 cassette deck. It's very much the same as that one up there, except that one up there is much nicer than this. Here we have a very basic Onkyo receiver. However, that is going to be a keeper for personal reasons. This is not the first receiver that my mother had. but it is the same thing. She had an Onkyo TX2000. This is in fact an Onkyo TX2000, and this was the first piece of vintage audio equipment that I ever messed around with. Now, since this is another one and not the original one, I guess you can all tell what happened. I was given that receiver and I took it apart. But I bought this thing off of eBay for a very decent price, 16 euro I believe, just as kind of a reminder. Here we have something that I'm going to keep because it's going to enable me to play mono recordings, and it is an absolutely cool device. This is a Uher 4000 report monitor. It's a portable reel-to-reel. This used to be the standard for for field recordings for of radio people. This is some broadcast equipment right there. Very high quality. Oh well. Anyway, I'm going to make a video about that thing soon. This is actually quite high on my list. As a matter of fact, I may actually pull this out of there once I'm done with this video to make a video about it, or at least to try it out. I'm not sure if it still works. I did repair it whenever I got it. Alright, here we have some more equipment. This is the Kenwood cassette deck. I don't remember the model number, but I do have a video about this up on my YouTube channel. One of the belts broke in it, so it doesn't work anymore. Here we have a sound mixer. Got that at a flea market, and it's not going to stay. I don't think so. It's just, nah, don't need that. Here we have a bunch of boxes, original boxes. Now the Hitachi D55 that's empty. This was my mother's cassette deck that would have gone along with the receiver right there. And she got it in 1981, and it broke in 1987, because that's when my parents replaced it with a Denon cassette deck. So that didn't last very long. But I did find the original box in the attic of my grandmother's house, so that's there. Not sure what I'm going to do with it. I should probably trash it. I always had the plan to get the matching black Hitachi D55 on eBay or wherever, but nah, I don't think I'm going to do it. Well, this right there is a keeper. Remember my introduction. This is a Telefunken RC200 cassette deck that's actually in there, in the original box, and it does feature high-com noise reduction. So I'll be keeping that, so that I'll be able to play back high-com encoded cassettes. Down there is something, this is something that has been in the family since it was new. This is a Universum FK100R portable TV. Kind of a pointless thing in this day and age with no more analog TV around. Still, I'm going to keep it. Has been in the family for so long. Would really be quite bad to throw it out, you know. And this was early 1970s, I believe. Down there is a radio, Cosmos Radio Man. It's a kit that you can experiment with. It's kind of a vintage-looking thing. It's got a tube on there, 12AU7. Not sure what I'm going to do with it. It was pretty damn expensive, but I never really use it. Okay, we've already seen that up there. This right here is going to be the VHS recorder that I'm going to keep. Remote control. This is a, well, it says Metz on there, but really it is a Panasonic HS1000, I believe was the model number. Something with 1000. This flips down and boom, professional VHS. It's an SVHS cassette deck with editing capabilities and all this kind of good stuff. It's got built-in edit computer, as you can see. That's quite a fancy one. Time-based corrector. It's all there, and that's going to be a keeper. That's going to be the one for digitizing video cassettes. This used to be my grandmother's, and now unfortunately she's no longer able to use this equipment. So I got this recorder right here, and another high-end Super VHS unit actually still remains in her house. So I do have access to yet another one. Here is a frequency generator that I don't use because I don't have space on my workbench for it at the moment. An old Grundig. And here we have a pair of Summit full-range speakers. These are small. They do sound pretty good, but certainly not good enough to be something that I'd like to keep. Here we have a Grundig tuner. I have already sold the matching amplifier that I once had to go along with this. This I'm probably going to sell as well, although, well, actually no. This has the only this is my only hi-fi tuner with a usable shortwave band. As you can see, it says K1 and K2, so they got the shortwave band stretched out across 2 dial ranges, so it's actually going to be possible to tune in a shortwave station on this. So normally, if you have shortwave on a hi-fi tuner, you know, it's more or less a gimmick. You cannot reliably tune in any stations because, you know, it's just not precise enough. On this one, you even got shortwave fine-tuning, so this may actually be a keeper. We'll have to fix it up though, it's gonna need some work. And that is a Sony CD Walkman in the original box with all original accessories. That's a blast of the past. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do with that. Down here we have something that I would like to keep. This is the Technics 671 cassette deck. This is kind of a nice one. I do like it. It will need some work. It's going to need a new motor because the old one is shot. The problem is it's not a standard 12-volt motor in there. It's a 13.5 volts motor, which is kind of stupid. There we have my Onkyo receiver. That's probably going to go up onto eBay sooner or later. Next to that we have the Sankyo cassette deck. This is not going to stay. Of course it has bad rubber parts in there that I can't reach and that I can't replace. So rewind and fast forward never worked right in this. So probably gonna take it apart, take out some you know, some components like those cool VU meters, and then this is going to go. And then over here we have a hi-fi VCR. This, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. It's kind of a cool vintage unit, but, well, anything this can do, this one can do 1,000,000 times better. So, it's probably not going to stay. Down there we have a Pioneer CTF 500 cassette deck. I believe that's the model number. Needs a new motor and whatever, needs some work. But that's going to go up onto eBay eventually, I guess. And then up on top we have another sound mixer that I'm probably not going to keep. Hiding down there we have something that I will be tearing apart at some point. This is a homemade amplifier. It's far away from any kind of hi-fi standard. As a matter of fact, it's quite noisy, so no reason in keeping that. It's, you know, not useful. That's of course another homemade device that I have not finished yet. That is the Class A amplifier as it stands right now. And this is of course where we've started from, the workbench. Now on the workbench we have a homemade amplifier that actually does sound good and is not noisy, so that's probably a keeper. We got 2 Fluke multimeters. One of them has a broken LCD screen. I will have to modify that to work with LED 7-segment displays. There are manuals on the internet on how to do that, so that shouldn't be much of a problem. Got frequency counter, frequency generator, got the digital oscilloscope. Then over there we have a keeper because, you know, this has served me so well over the years, the JVC KDV6 cassette deck. And down below we have something that is really just a signal source for testing. That's an Onkyo CD player, an old one. Over there we have a pair of speakers. These are no-name speakers with Pioneer drivers inside. However, they do sound amazingly good. So these I am going to keep. Not sure what I'm going to be using them for, but they're keepers. Then of course on the workbench sits the Universum brand boombox. We've already seen the case for that. Still working on that. Here we have what currently is my only functional bench laboratory power supply. This is the one that someone else made, and I've kind of been messing around with this and I've been improving it and all that. So that still works. It's not a piece of audio or video equipment though. These are test speakers that I made. You can see they just have these clips up front, so that they are really quite universally usable. You can stick in wires, or you can go and put on alligator clip leads on those connections that are exposed up there. And these are, these are just some random cheap speakers in there. Just test speakers. If I blow them up, it's not going to be bad. And then we have no, where did that thing go? Somewhere, well anyway, somewhere hiding in this mess I have a little LePi Class T amplifier, the LP 2020 that I bought. Haven't really done anything with it yet. I don't know where that thing went. That's part of the original box up there, of course, but must be in that pile of junk. But, well, there's a satellite not a satellite, an on-air TV receiver, digital TV receiver. If I go and hook up that Sony Trinitron TV again, that we've seen before, this is what I'm going to be using for that. Well, and that's that. That is all I have at this point. A bit of an overview. Long video, probably not much point to it. But, well, there you have it. There you have it. So, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope this was interesting. I'll see you again soon. Thank you for watching.